In today's video, we're taking a look at the last of the starter decks that Magic Arena gives us to play with in 2024. So this deck is a pretty cool one. It is a deck that focuses on small creatures, it focuses on food tokens, and ways to generate some value other than just sacrificing them for life. So let's go take a look at the deck, and maybe we can see how we can upgrade it and make it our own. Alright, so here we are with the Snack Time pre-constructed deck that the game gives you when you finish all your tutorials and you start getting into the game proper. So this deck is a green and black, also known as Golgari, deck that focuses around small creatures and food tokens, and lots of ways to create food tokens for profit. So this deck runs things like Monstrosity. When this dies, it creates a food token. Sugar Rush, card that gives you +3/+0, and you draw a card. So it's a semi-decent combat trick. You also have Masa Dread Knight, Titanic Growth, Assassin's Trophy. You also have Experimental Confectioner, Feed the Cauldron, another removal spell that gives you a food token. Gumdrop Poisoner has an adventure where you create a food token, and her other side is a 3/2 creature with lifelink, and when Gumdrop Poisoner enters, up to one target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. So you sacrifice the food token, gain some life, play the Gumdrop Poisoner, and give like -3/-3 to a creature. That's usually what you do with this. Then you have Sweet Tooth Witch. It's a creature that gives you a food token, and then you can sacrifice foods to make players lose life. And you have Hollow Scavenger, a creature that cares about food tokens and also creates food tokens for you. You have Return from the Wilds, a ramp spell that has the option to give you a human creature token or create a food token. Then you have Spider Food. This is a spell that allows you to destroy an artifact, an enchantment, or a creature with flying, and you create a food token when you do that. Huntsman's Redemption is a saga that will give you a 3/3 beast on the first turn you play it. Then on the second turn, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, search your library for a creature or basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And part 3 is up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. Pretty decent. Wildwood Mentor. We have Greta, the Sweet Tooth Scourge, gives you food tokens and also cares about sacrificing food tokens. Reach for the Sky is a flash enchantment that gives +3/+2 and reach, and when this enchantment goes to the graveyard, you can draw a card. Bristlebud Farmer, it's a 5/5 for 4 with trample, that when it comes in, it gives you 2 food tokens. And also when it attacks, you may sacrifice a food. If you do, mill 3 cards. You may put a permanent card from among them into your hand. Really, really good creature. Provisions Merchant makes food tokens and makes your creatures better when you attack. Lich Knight's Conquest, very interesting card, although a little expensive. It reads, sacrifice any number of artifacts, enchantments, or tokens. Return that many creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's a mass reanimation spell if you have enough tokens to utilize it. Scream Puff is a 4/5 with Death Touch, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you make a food token. Gingerbread Hunter has the adventure called Puny Snack that gives a creature -2/-2 until end of turn. And as a creature, it's a 5/5 that whenever it enters, you make a food token. So you can see the theme here. It's creatures and food tokens and sacrificing food tokens for profit. Pretty easy to pick up, right? Okay, so now that we know the base theme of the deck, let's see what we can do to fix this deck up. Okay, so here is our upgraded version of the deck. We're still going with a creature-heavy theme and a theme of food tokens matters. So here's what we have. We are running 3 copies of Cut Down, we're running 2 copies of Scavenger's Talent. Now, this was not in the original deck list, but I think this card really makes the cut. It's a good card. So it's an enchantment that costs only 1 black mana, and it says whenever 1 or more creatures you control die, create a food token. This ability triggers only once each turn. You can pay a colorless and a black to go to level 2, and it reads whenever you sacrifice a permanent, target player mills 2 cards. And then you can go to level 3 by paying 3 mana, and it says, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice 3 other non-land permanents. If you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Really solid card, especially when you have a lot of food tokens. And this card also helps you make food tokens too. Then we have Feed the Cycle. It is a pretty universal creature or planeswalker kill card, and all it requires of you is that you forage or pay an additional black mana. So for paying a colorless and a black and sacrificing a food token, you get to destroy any creature or planeswalker. Really good card. Maso Dread Knight, we bumped this up to a 3 of just because it's a really good card. For 1 colorless and a black, you get to draw a card and lose a life. Or for a colorless and a green, you get a 3/2 Trampler. And when the creature dies, you then get to utilize the Dread Whispers spell again next turn. So it's a really good card that just keeps coming back. Really good value on this card. Then we're running 4 copies of Tough Cookie. It is a 2/2 food golem for a colorless and a green. So this counts as a food for other cards that care about foods being sacrificed. And when it comes in, it makes a food token. You can pay 2 colorless and a green to make a food, or actually not a food, make a non-creature artifact you control become a 4/4 artifact creature until end of turn. So you can use this to animate your other food tokens into beaters. It's a really solid card. And also has the ability to pay 2, tap, and sacrifice itself to gain 3 life, because it's a food token. Then we also have 4 copies of Vine Reap Mentor. This card's too good to pass up in a deck like this. For 2 mana, you get a 3/2 creature that when it enters and when it dies, you get a food token. Really good. Now, I'm also running 2 copies of Back for Seconds. Now, the reason I'm running this is because of the bargain mechanic. With the bargain mechanic, you can sacrifice one of your food tokens to get the bonus effect on it. So what this does is for 3 mana, you can return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. If the spell was bargained, you may put one of those cards with mana value 4 or less onto the battlefield instead of putting it to your hand. So if you've got 2 creatures in your graveyard and one of them's really good, you can put one of them right onto the battlefield and the other one goes to your hand. So it's pretty decent when played in conjunction with a lot of food tokens. Gumdrop Poisoner, talked about this already, but I decided to add 1 more to the deck just for consistency. Then we're running 3 copies of Camellia the Seed Miser. Now this is a pretty cool card. For 3 mana, you get a 3/3 Squirrel Warlock with Menace. Other squirrels you control have Menace, so that means the Vine Reap Mentor. Whenever you sacrifice 1 or more foods, create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. And then you can pay 2 and forage, and forage means you sacrifice a food or dig 3 cards out of your graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on each other squirrel you control. So really good synergy with the Vine Reap Mentor, and also gives you an added benefit when you sacrifice your food tokens for any other reason. Speaking of other reasons, we bumped up Greta to a 3 of. Greta, 3/3, comes in, gives you a food token. You can pay a green, sacrifice a food, to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Or you can pay a colorless and a black and sacrifice a food to draw a card and lose a life. So it's a lot of value packed into just a little 3/3 creature. And whenever you sacrifice one of these food tokens for Greta's abilities, Camellia will trigger, giving you another squirrel token. It's really cool. Now, Bristlewood Farmer, I bumped this up to a 2 of, just because this is just such a really good card. So it's a 5/5 trample for 4, makes 2 food tokens, and gives you benefits when you sacrifice a food on attack. Really solid. Also, When this attacks, you sacrifice a food to do its effect. Guess who also triggers? Camellia. Also, Scavenger's Talent will also trigger, because when you sacrifice a permanent, target player mills 2 cards, and food tokens are permanents. So a lot of synergies here with just him attacking. Now also, I decided to add in 2 copies of Agatha's Champion as additional removal. This is a 4/4 human knight for 5 mana, and it has Bargain. And if you remember, Bargain is sacrificing a token. So you sacrifice the food token, you get the Bargain. It's a trampler, and it says when Agatha's Champion enters, if it was bargained, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So you can use this as a fighter when it comes in if you sacrificed a food token. So just added removal. Speaking of added removal, Rottenmouth Viper really fits this deck to a T. This is a really solid card to use when you have a lot of food tokens. So Rottenmouth Viper is a 6 mana creature. It's a 6/6, and it says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of non-land permanents. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent sacrificed this way. So let's say, for example, you have 3 or 4 food tokens just laying around, and you draw a Rottenmouth Viper. If you got 4 food tokens, that means Rottenmouth Viper comes in for only 2 mana. That's a really solid value. Plus, when you sacrifice those food tokens, Camellia triggers, Scavenger's Talent triggers. If they're in play, of course. Now, the real good thing about the Rottenmouth Viper is its other ability. When Rottenmouth Viper enters or attacks, put a blight counter on it. Then, for each blighter counter on it, each opponent loses 4 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. It's a really, really back-breaking creature, especially if it lives for more than 1 turn. It's really, really solid. And in a deck like this, a Rottenmouth Viper will very likely survive because your opponent is so focused on killing your creatures that come up before it. A lot of the times, your opponent will run through 2 or 3 removal spells just dealing with your early game creatures before they even see Rottenmouth Viper come out. So by the time he comes out, your opponent's out of removal and you're just having a great time. So that's it right there. We are still running a budget of 15 rares and mythics. So this is a very affordable deck to play, and I think it's pretty decent. So let's go ahead and take it out there, play a few games with it, see how it plays, and then we'll come to our conclusions later. Okay, what do we got here? So we have a swamp and 2 forests. We have Cut Down, Camellia, and 2 Gretas. I'll keep it. Alright, opponent plays a swamp into Valgavoth's Faithful. What does that do? 4 mana, 1/1. Sacrifice Valgavoth's Faithful, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate as a sorcery. Interesting. Okay, let's go and play a swamp. Very interesting ability. Alright, pass. Pass. See if they do anything. They do not. Alright, end turn, cut it down. Okay, our turn. We don't have anything to do this turn, so we're going to use the Underground Sanctuary. I have too many lands already. I don't need that. Okay, they did not have a land to play, which is good for us. So we are going to drop in Greta. Greta comes in and creates a food token for us. Looks like our opponent is going to have a removal spell for us. And there it is, Bitter Triumph, and they discard Valgavoth. So this is a Reanimator deck. Ooh, that Reanimator doesn't do anything if you don't have any mana. Alright, Bristlebud Farmer comes in. Make 2 tokens for us. Alright, got another removal spell for us? Yeah, they do. Alright, they discard another card. That is Don't Make a Sound. What does that do? Counter target spell unless it's control phase 2. Alright, opponent is down on cards yet again. So we're going to go Camellia. and Vine Reap. Vine Reap comes in, makes a token. Do you have a land yet? No, but you have another removal spell. Alright, let's go Greta. Alright, make another food token. Alright, pop you. Let's see here. We'll end the turn. Hey, they finally got their third land. It's a Soured Spring. Steal 1 to me. Pass? Alright. End of turn. I'm going to sacrifice one of our tokens to draw a card. Another Greta. Hey, feed the cycle. Nice. I like that. Alright, we're going to attack for 6. And then I'm going to play this part of Gumdrop Poisoner and end the turn. Do they get a 4th land? They do. Do they have a reanimation spell? No, but they have a Gix. And that's fine, because I can use Agatha's Champion next turn to get rid of that Gix. They are holding priority in their second main. What could they possibly want to do with 1 mana? Nothing. Cool. Alright, so I'm going to sacrifice a food token to draw a card. And then I'm going to do it again. Oh wait, no. Oh, I don't have extra black. That's fine. Alright, I'll take my turn. Alright, let's go ahead and bring in Agatha's Champion. We're going to bargain it. Sacrifice that. Comes in, punches Gix. Okay, and then we attack for 6. Alright, so they could hit 5 mana this turn, in which case they could have a reanimation spell. Oh, there it is. Do they have the spell to reanimate with? Come back wrong. Alright, they didn't have anything for me. It's fine, it's fine. No big deal. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to sacrifice a food to put a +1 counter there. So that's 7 damage right there. So let's go ahead and swing in for 7 and see if they can stop us. They can't. Nice. Good game. Okay, so that's a lot of lands, but we can make use of it. So I'll keep this. Alright, opponent plays a Fabled Passage. And he cracks it. What land is he gonna go get? He gets a swamp. Alright, my first land of the game is going to be a swamp. Alright, another Fabled Passage. Cracks it immediately. Is he going to get a forest? No, he gets an island. Interesting. Alright, let's go ahead and use Dread Whispers right now. He gets us another Mosswood Dread Knight. It plays an island. I do like those full art lands. Showing the demon in the background in every different land is really cool. It's good environmental storytelling. Wail of the Forgotten. With the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. That's an interesting card. Okay, so Terratide, Marina Vendrell. Okay, yeah, this is definitely a graveyard-centric deck. Okay, let's go ahead and go here, and we're going to play a Greta. Greta's going to come in and give us a food token. Play in Undercity Sewers, Surveil 1. It looks like they're keeping the card there. Yeah, and then they play Wail to Forgotten again. We'll get the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, and the rest into the graveyard. What went into the graveyard? Fear of Imposters. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and play... We're going to play another... Actually, no, we're going to play another swamp. And we are going to open with an attack for 3. And then we are going to play Rottenmouth Viper. Rottenmouth comes in, gets a counter. And please don't have a bounce spell in your hand. That would really suck for me. Okay, they discarded a Sheoldred. Terror Tide. Boom. Got rid of my Rottenmouth. We'll play Blast Zone. Alright, my turn. Let's go and play this Forest. And then we're going to play the spell side of Maso Dread Knight. It gets us a Bristlebud Farmer. Okay, so from there we'll play a Camellia. Alright, want to play as a Swamp. They're up to 6 lands now. We should have something cool to play. We'll play Virtue. Okay. Well, that's going to suck for us, because they're going to play another land next turn and get our Rottenmouth back. Overlord of the Baelmerg. Okay, they mill 4 cards, return a card to their hand, and that is Sheoldred. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. Okay, so we got a Scavenger's Talent. We're going to play this. We're going to play the talent. Then we are going to play the Bristlebud Farmer. Bristlebud comes in, creates 2 food tokens. Alright, opponent takes their turn. If they get a land, that is the end of the game for us. They did not get a land. Okay. Surveil 2. Then for each card you put on top of your library, you draw a card and lose 3 life. Pretty decent card. Okay, they just sent 2 away. Alright, my turn. We're gonna play the Underground Mortuary. Tough cookie, huh? I'll keep that there. That's a pretty cool card. Then we're going to attack for 5. I will sacrifice a food because I want to get that snake back out of my graveyard. Oh, I can't. How come? When we put a permanent card from... When it attacks, you may sacrifice a food. If you do mill... Oh, you can only do from among the ones that you milled. That's unfortunate. Okay, take the damage. And after that, we're going to play the Agatha's Champion. We're going to bargain it. Sacrifice the token. Comes in and fights the Revenant. Too bad it's a fight and not a strike. That does suck. Please don't be a land. It is not a land. Great. Marina Vendrell. They draw 5 cards. Jesus. You have no maximum hand size, and you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. Whenever you gain life, draw that many cards. Whenever you lose life, discard that many cards. Then, if you have no cards in hand, you lose the game. Okay, that's interesting. Alright, let's go ahead and play that. Then, we are going to attack for 5. Sacrifice a food. Decline. If you lose life, discard that many cards. That's 5 cards you gotta discard. So he needs to choose to discard 5 cards. Okay, so discard 5 cards. Let's go to level 2. Let's go to level 3. Let's play Vine Reap. Vine Reap comes in, makes that. Sacrifice these 3. Give me Rottenmouth Viper. And you mill 2 cards. Whenever you sacrifice permanent, mill 2 cards. Mill 2 cards. Okay, so they can choose to discard a card or lose 4 life. If they lose 4 life, they have to discard the whole hand. Starving Revenant comes in. So they're going to have to surveil too, and then send those cards away. Because that Marina Vendrell is actually doing more harm to them than good. The Grimoire, I mean. Honestly, if I were them, I would find a way to like bounce that off the table. Another impending counter. Alright, so let's attack. They're gonna... Oh? I guess that's that. I'm honestly surprised they didn't sacrifice the Grimoire. Or actually, let me take a look real quick. What does the card actually say? Because I think it might actually be discard a creature, or sacrifice a creature, or discard a card from your hand. Not non-land, or non-land card. Let's see. When it enters or attacks, put a blight counter on it. Then for each blighted counter on it, each opponent loses 4 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. Non-land permanent, they should have discarded the Grimoire. If they would have gotten rid of the Grimoire, that would have gotten around it. However, he did have 11 points of damage coming at him, so he probably wasn't going to survive that anyways. Man, I gotta say, I'm really enjoying Rottenmouth Viper in this deck. And if you're enjoying this deck at all, if you're getting value from this gameplay, please feel free to drop a subscription, like the video, or even lay down a comment in the comment section down below. All of those things do really help spread the video around to other people who might enjoy it as well. So, I thank you very much for sticking with the video this long, and if you liked it, do some of the YouTube stuff. Let's get back to the games. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a swamp, 2 forests, a cut down, feed the cycle, back for seconds, and bristlebud farmer. I'll keep it. Alright, our first turn is a swamp, which allows us to play cut down on turn 1. Seed of Hope. They mill 2 cards, put a permanent card from among the cards back into their hand, and then they gain 2 life. They chose the forest. Alright, we'll play this forest and play a Vine Reap Mentor. Comes in, gives us a food token. Seen a lot of black in play today. Ooh, Fauna Shaman, interesting. The old art Fauna Shaman, very nice. Alright, let's go and play this, and then we're going to play Cut Down on the Fauna Shaman. Get rid of that before you have an opportunity to utilize it. We're going to play a Swamp into Wasteful Harvest. Mill 5 cards, you may put a permanent card from among the cards milled this way into your hand. Okay. And of the cards, probably Collector's Vault, yeah. Alright, pass. My turn. Ooh, tough cookie. Alright, let's go ahead and play Bristlebud. Bristlebud comes in and gives us 2 food tokens. Pop for 3. And play Forest into Collector's Vault. Do they activate the vault immediately? Yes, they do. Draw a card, then discard a card. They discard Boonbringer Valkyrie. I actually really like that card. It's a very good card. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to go next. Attack. I'm going to sacrifice one of these tokens. And we will get a Rottenmouth to our hand. Then next, pop, pop. Then we will play the Rottenmouth, sacrificing those 2 tokens. Rottenmouth comes in, gets a counter, make you sacrifice a permanent or discard a card. Or you can just lose 4 life. Alright, they sacrifice their treasure token. Alright, they play a swamp. Activate the Collector's Vault to draw a card, and then discard a card. Discarding a Swamp. They still have access to 4 mana. They use Squirming Emergence. Okay, very cool. I'm not worried about that. Okay, so we're going to use Tough Cookie. That's going to give us a not treasure token, a food token, which then we can use to forage with Feed the Cycle. And then we attack. I think that worked out pretty well for us. Sacrifice the food? Nah. GG. That worked out pretty well. Nice. Okay, and we are back with our post-game wrap-up. And of the games we played tonight, I gotta say, this deck is pretty decent. I really like the Rottenmouth Viper. The Rottenmouth Viper, with all of the food tokens that you generate over the course of a game, oftentimes you're going to be playing Rottenmouth for 2 or 3 mana tops. It's a really, really solid card for this deck. I'm probably going to end up increasing that to a 3 of, because it's just that good. Other MVPs of the deck, I would definitely say, are Vine Reap Mentor. Vine Reap Mentor is really, really good for the deck. Tough Cookie is really good for the deck. Mosswood Dreadnought helps you draw into like your best cards. Camellia, surprisingly good. Like having the ability to just make more squirrel tokens over the course of a game, and also giving your squirrels menace is really strong. Especially even if you're not playing a like squirrel tribal deck. Like just giving this and maybe Vine Reap Menace in the early game is usually enough to get enough damage through to do what you need to do. As far as like weaker cards in the deck, Greta is kind of like a role player, but even though is like kind of a removal magnet. So maybe run her as like a 2 of, possibly, but her and Camilla fighting for the 3-drop, both at 3 mana and 3 copies each. I probably want to change the numbers up a little bit there. Back for Seconds is absolutely a great card. Love being able to bargain it with a food token and put a creature directly into play. Really solid for only 3 mana. Gumdrop Poisoner didn't really see a whole lot of play in the games that we played. I think we might even like drop this for something a little bit more impactful. Not that she's not good, but just that I don't think we drew her in the right games or in the right moments to make the most effect of her. We were too busy spending our mana on different things. But definitely the MVPs of the deck are Bristlebud Farmer, Rottenmouth Viper, and Vine Reap Mentor. Those are like probably the best cards in the deck. Just having all of these abilities to make food tokens in the early game really makes Rottenmouth Viper so much better in the late game. And oftentimes, the Rottenmouth Viper will end games on its own. It's just that good. Same thing with Bristlebud Farmer. Like having that ability to mill 3 cards and get a permanent back just for sacrificing a food when it attacks is really, really strong. So there you go. That is the deck. I will leave a link to the deck list in the description box down below, so you can go ahead and enjoy the deck yourself, or maybe even iterate on it further. And yeah, that's going to be it. I'm going to stop rambling now. So go play some games, enjoy the deck, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.